Hi guys, my name is Anders, and what I'm going to do here is take you through creating your first beat. Let's get into that. Okay, so here we are in FL Studio. Now, when you open up FL Studio, yours may look different to what I've got here. This is because I use a template, so I don't have to reset up my mixer tracks every single time. So I just have them set up and colored by default, just to speed up my workflow. If you want to follow on step by step and have this the same, there's a download in the description below, and that will have a FLP, which is a Fruity Loops project template. And if you open that up, you'll then be starting from the same point here. But if you have your own template and things already, or you just want to start, don't worry about it and just follow along from there. So we're going to build this trap beat out using just the default samples that are available in FL Studio. So in your browser, you'll have a section here called packs, and we're going to load a couple of sounds up from drums here. So if we just go down to kicks, we've got the 808 here. That's a really nice low bassy kick drum. We're going to add that. If we right click, we're going to send to selected channel, and it's going to go to this blank sampler up here. And we've now got that loaded in there, which is great. There's some other sounds we're going to want as well. We're going to make use of this 707 kick. If we right click, and this time we can do open in new channel, and you'll see it stacked up there for us nicely. And we want some hat sounds. We're going to use the 808 hat. Nice closed hat there. I'm going to add that to a new channel too. And if we get into snares, I think we're going to use some kind of rim. Do you know what? We'll use the 808 snare as well. We'll stick with it. So those are our absolute basic of bass drum sounds. And what we're going to do now is just put together a really basic beat, and we're going to do it using the piano roll. The reason we're going to use the piano roll, it's a little bit easier to create the hi-hat rolls and the snare rolls that work well in this genre. Whereas if we were to just fill them in here, we can only do a 4 out of 4. We can go a lot deeper and apply a lot of changes by using the piano roll. So let's just start out with the kicks. If we right click on the sound, we can drop it into the piano roll here. And notice that in FL Studio, by default, C5 is going to be where your sample triggers. If you go C4, it's going to be really, really bassy. And if you go C6, it'll be really high pitched. So C5 is going to be your basic trigger. Now, one thing to note, it's at 130 BPM. I'm feeling we're going to go a little bit slower for this. We're going to bring it down to say 110. We'll just do a real simple beat. So we're going to come in right on the first beat here. We want that first one to have full velocity and really hit hard. And if you press L in FL Studio, it's going to switch between pattern and song. Now for the minute we'll stay in pattern, but we're going to switch to song afterwards. We just go for the really simple pattern, just like this. Now notice the one where it rolls here and it goes into the next one. It's causing some popping and clicking. Just listen again to the last hit and this first hit here. Yeah, what we can do to fix that really quickly, if we just bring up our little channel rack here, we can open the 808. If you see this little icon just here, it's going to be our ADSR. We can enable that envelope. They bring the attack right down, and we're just going to work out what sort of timing we need so that pop no longer occurs. Yeah, so we're still getting a good feeling from that 808 there. Now you notice I've extended the notes out a little bit. When you've got the envelope working, depending on the note length is how long they'll play for. Now the last one here I've made a little bit shorter. I did that just by holding Option, and I can drag it to anywhere I want without it snapping to the grid. Now we're just going to take the other kick and layer them together, the 707. So if we click up here, we can drop that onto the 707. And here we're going to vary the velocities a little bit. We want the ones that land on the one beat to be louder than any that are on the off. What we're doing here, we just want some extra volume and some extra high end coming in just to make our kick stand out. It's a little bit much at the moment, so if we hold Control, we can select all of the points here. If we hold down Option or Alt, we can use the mouse wheel or magic mouse and change all the velocities at once. That's balanced that a little bit better for us. Now that's our kick pattern. I'm going to put that in here and I'm just going to rename it. So now if we press L, it swaps into song mode. We've worked it out here, so we've now got a nice 4-bar. We're going to move on to making the next pattern. We can just click up here. And this time we're going to do our snare. And we want to make sure that pattern 2 is already dropped. I think we're going to put some rolls and changes in, so we're going to have this a little bit longer here. We want this to be much louder. Cool, that's given us a nice little snare roll pattern. Let's do our hi-hat pattern next. It's good that we just name everything as we go along, because it helps us in the long run. So for our hats, we're going to do some alternate patterns here. Something you'll hear a lot in trap. It will just start quite simply and then build up into really quick rolls. So we have something like this just to start off. And we want to change the velocity, so there's lots of change here, because just a constant dynamic doesn't feel as natural moving. And we'll have a singular hit. Now, at the minute, the most we can do is 4 hits per bar, which is the same as the step sequencer. If we go into snap to grid up here, we can change that into something like half beat, so there's just 2. Or we can go much more extreme, do 1/6 and put it on triplets, or we can then even go into steps here, where we can really up the ante. And build some crazy rolls. We just do some quiet sort of ghost hits in here just to give a bit of a feel. And then we're going to take, using Control, highlight, and then we do Shift to bring all of these over. We're just going to copy that pattern over. Now I think it would be nice to have something that signifies the change here of the end of the 4 bars. So on this second snare pattern that we've got here, if we right click on it, we can do make unique. It will now give us snare 2, so we can see that's a change. And just by double clicking on it, we can bring it back in. What we'll do is we'll introduce a pretty intense snare roll as well. That's going to go in time with that hi-hat roll. Well, so that's a really basic drum pattern down there, but it feels a little bit rigid, a little bit too sort of on point, if you will. So let's get a bit of quantization going with the hats. If we open up our pattern here, we want to make sure we select the notes. We can use the little option just up here, click on the arrow. We're going to go down to tools and we're going to take quantize. Now in here, you use a template for it. Something like the 16 MPC 2 is going to work really well here. So you would click and we would choose whatever template we like. This is just the default ones for FL Studio. We'll open that and we're going to increase the sensitivity and you'll see it will move some of the points in place. Yeah, see how it's joining those notes together in some places. So we can have a listen to what that would create. There's a bit more of a feel to it here, and you see it's quantized the levels as well. We could take that out if we wanted to, and it could maintain the levels we put in. Cool, so that's just our basic drum pattern laid out now. Last thing we'd do is just a little bit of housekeeping. If you press F9, you can bring our mixer back up. And if you loaded up the same project as me, you will be able to just assign these real quickly. And if we just drag that, we're just going to get the 808 to appear in the kick drum pattern. The 707 can go in perk 1 for us. The 808 hi-hat can go under our hi-hat. And our snare can sit under the snare. We should now see they all sit in the correct mixer, and then they route to our drum bus here. That means really quickly later on, everything's set out for us to mix and start balancing our track. So that's basic way of getting our drums laid out. Let's look at adding in the next element in the next video.